Rise, minions, and welcome to unMadeGaming. We are here for the episode of our Patreon campaign. We are playing Monty Cook Games' Cypher system. This one is one of their worlds called Gods of the Fall. This campaign is called The Rise. If you like what we do here, do what everyone on your screen has done. Join us on Patreon. Link for that down below. While you're down there, join us in the Discord, be a part of the community, be a part of the conversation, and as always, in the bottom right-hand corner, you will see the corruption bar that is apparently already half full because Chris is a masochist. That bar serves two purposes. One is when that bar fills, I do what the hell I want to these wonderful players that you see here before you. And two, every single dollar that goes into that bar goes back to this channel so I can eventually hire someone to do my job for me better than I can do it. That being said, previously on The Rise.
Nobody does it better.
That's not true. So many people do it better. They just need money to do it, and I don't have any of that. So you're stuck with me. Previously on The Rise, after returning from the Krakens, Anteri set about the city to locate the rest of her companions to discuss what they had found and what must be done to prepare. In Anteri's and Seydlitz's absence, Korax, that's a lot of S's. In Anteri's and Seydlitz's absence, Korax and Mina had been busy getting to know the city better than ever. One endearing himself to the local fighting force, the other constantly citing a decree for work to be done. The air in the Afterworld is tense. War is coming to Samora, but something remains hidden. That being said, we zoom in to a tavern. It is nightfall in Samora, and Mina sits across from Wexy, having just revealed that he has had several dreams in which he has spoken to the King of Nod, and that he learned to navigate the Dreamlands because his mother was a guard captain, and that's just something that they did. To which Wexy replied, "No, it isn't. No, it isn't." Mina,
She's a guard captain of the Nightlands.
What's going on, Mina?
I think Mina's just finished relaying probably almost his whole life story since he could remember, about how his mother trained him with weapons, constantly going on about her time in the Samoran army, till they had an encounter where his sister Raya didn't wake up, and his mother Ariel arranged to get her back, which she explained is something she learned in the Samoran army. Don't think too much about it. And ever since then, he's had the strong belief that I guess that's what they learn in the Samoran army. And since then, his sister returned, has been very grumpy, as sisters tend to be, probably more grumpy than normal. And then Mina had his own encounter where he somehow got trapped in the Kingdom of Nod after making homemade dream dust that should be something everyone knows how to make. And while there, he spent a lot of time wandering the Dreamlands, waiting for a way to get back, until, again, his mother showed up and explained to him the way to get back is to find an anchor of support back near where his body is. And at that time, he couldn't think of one. He'd only just met the people he was traveling with. And then something reminded him of Arua. And suddenly he came back to his body, to a fight happening in Laredo. And then most recently, his new companions, Anteris and Korax, seem to believe that his sister Raya has joined forces with two of Malumriel's favorite and is hunting him down to kill him. So just a normal day for a simple boy who just wants to be left alone.
Wexy sits across from you with rapt attention, hanging on every word of this fantastical tale. Um, when you finish, there is a pause, a long pause, where she is clearly digesting this entire elephant. She looks to you and says, "That's Mina. That's not normal. None of
Uh,
none of what you
ish.
said is right. N- Maybe that's not the right word. The the arm the military here doesn't teach that. First of all, and second of all, I don't I don't know anyone. I know so many people that know someone that has gotten trapped in Nod in their dreams. Hell, the whole Guild of Sleep. That's their whole thing. I don't know anyone that knows anyone that got out or can
Uh,
just get out at will, or who was had you had a conversation. You had a conversation with the King of Nod, like face to face, Mina. That's you have to know that's not normal.
um, I don't know. Ever since this thing started, I've been running from a dragon. I've met the Queen of Samora. Uh, it's not. It's not that unreasonable that the King of Nod factors in. You're muted, Mike. Sorry.
How about now?
Better.
Okay, weird. I and the whole your sister. This Mina, this is a lot. Have you spoken to your mother? Like, is she?
Just when we met her in when I met her in the dreamscape.
You have to know that's not what you just said is not normal, right?
She didn't seem to think it was a big deal when she did it.
I don't think that helps the situation.
I told Corex and Seydlitz and Antares that I met the King of Nod. They they didn't seem too concerned.
Mina, and she like reaches across the table and like puts a hand on top of yours. You're 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 traveling with three divine beings, and your mother can navigate the dreamscape, and your sister is coming to kill you, and you're gonna help the queen fight a war. You understand how when I say it all together, it sounds ridiculous.
I guess if you look at it at this moment in time, without the gradual build-up, it does seem a bit fantastical, but I guess it's just what I've been living for the past month or so.
Yeah. Okay. Um, I I'm not entirely sure what to do with all of this right now, given the war situation. Um, I don't I don't know if if I don't know if the whole King of Nod thing will be helpful in this moment.
I did tell the Queen about it. She didn't seem to think it was entirely relevant.
Okay. Okay. Did you tell the Queen everything that you just told me?
No, just that we thought the King of Nod was after Arua.
Okay. And did you mention your sister?
No, when I told her about the King of Nod, I didn't know about Raya joining the favored. I don't know if that's confirmed at the moment.
Okay.
I think it may be Antares and Corex worked it out somehow.
Okay. And she wants. Do we know why she wants to kill you?
I don't know why. But I guess if she's working for Nulumriel, it kind of makes sense.
You would think, though, that it's your sister.
She's always been a little bit mean. But
Okay.
like I said, ever since she's come back from Nod, she's been meaner. Oh, that didn't come out right.
She looks to you and still with her hand on yours. She says, okay, you're trying you're trying to help here, which is commendable, and you're trying to help bolster the forces. Mina, how can I help you?
I think we need to focus on this city. I think that's got to take priority. I can deal with Raya after the war.
What if you don't have that choice?
I don't know what else to do, I guess. We can only plan for the known.
What if she comes before the war or during the war?
Well, that would be my luck at the moment, I guess.
Okay, do we have a plan?
Well, I guess Antares offered to kill her for me.
Okay. Okay. Okay, that is a plan. That is that what you want?
I want to talk to her. I want to find out what's going on. I mean, it used to work. I used to be able to talk to her.
Okay. Well, if that happens and you want to speak with her, then that's what we need to do.
I guess if we also find out if anything happened in Dawnsfall after I left, that might give us some clues.
We could send a letter.
Yeah, I can arrange for a letter to go to Auntie Tissa, find out if she has any clues what's going on. I don't know where my mum and dad are currently traveling to.
Okay.
Otherwise, I could send them a letter.
We can We can try to make that happen. I've recalled all of my scouts. I've recalled all of my mercenaries. There may still be some out there. Okay, this is not how I expected this to go.
Does this count as the drink?
It does not.
Okay.
Had a very different idea for that, and it wasn't this.
Maybe later, I guess.
Yes. Yes, once we figure all of this out, I think that would be best.
I think at that point, Mina realizes that she's been holding his hand for a very long time and quickly fumbles for a drink.
Yeah, she leans back and like sees you like awkwardly move your hand, and she just like raises her hand, and it immediately some sort of barkeep or waiter / waitress brings over 2 large ales. And we cut from this adorable bar scene across town to Seydlitz. Seydlitz, it has been a whole day, just so you know. We can rewind some time here if we need to. It has been a whole day that you have been returned. You have been returned from your trip to the Krakens. It is now nightfall of the day in which you returned. Where do we find Seydlitz?
Seydlitz, after departing from Antares, probably heads home to let his family know that he's still there.
Okay.
He's still alive somehow.
Yeah, you make it to the house. Fernand is obviously not there. He is preparing some things, namely a quick getaway. Your sister is there. The kids are playing in like the front room of the house. And she stops. We'll say you arrive back in the morning. We'll do a little bit of a rewind for you. Yeah, she stops whatever she's doing as you kind of walk in the door. Both of the kids sort of rush over to you. And she just looks to you. Well, did you find what you needed to find?
Yes and no. We can discuss it later after the kids are to bed. It's a grown-up topic. As he pats Amy on the head since he knows they've run up to him.
Does Mother need to be involved?
If she wishes.
She wishes.
Then yes.
Fine. And we'll star wipe to nightfall. The kids have been put to bed. Actually, is there anything that you would have done during the day now that you have returned?
Seydlitz would have gotten some sleep himself.
Yeah. So yeah, we cut to nightfall towards the end of the day. Dinner has been served, has been cleared away from the table. Around the table sits your sister, your mother, an uncomfortable Fernand who knows that he has no business being at this table, but is here for marital reasons, and yourself. And your mother sits beside you, and she sort of like, are you wearing the cloak
Yes,
she
sir.
gave you? Okay. She like admires it, and she like kind of like she's like fussing over you like a mom would, right? Where she's like straightening it out over like your shoulders and like sort of, making sure it's not wrinkled. And she just sort of dotes on you for a minute. Seeing you in this cloak has brought up some sort of memories for her. And your sister just drums her fingers on the table, that brum, 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 waiting for you to start talking, as you can hear the creak of Fernand's chair as he rocks back and forth. Your sister looks to you and says, well, what did you said you did and did not find what you were looking for. Care to elaborate?
Well, first, even if I wanted to find more, it can't be found now.
That mean?
Regis is dead.
Didn't really know he was alive, I guess. What did you need him for?
Same thing I tried to get out of him last time I talked to him. But this time he actually talked about it. You remember how our father disappeared on an expedition to the second deep, right?
Yeah.
According to Regis in his dying words, that's not where they went.
Did you kill him?
No. A undead man from Christchurch did. Attempted to.
Oh. Okay. We'll circle back to that. You said the fifth deep?
No, I didn't.
Oh, sorry.
Out of character, no, I didn't. I was about to say.
I'm sorry. Where was the expedition to?
Assuming the Whitecaps haven't lied to us, it was supposed to be the second deep, and they somehow winded up on the fifth one.
How do you wind up the fifth one?
Those deeps are hardly explored. Who's to say they didn't stumble upon some route from the second all the way to the bottom?
How did he make it out from the fifth?
One question I would love to ask, but I don't have, obviously won't get the answer to anymore.
Your mother finishes fluffing your cape. Your robe. And she looks to you and she says, now that you have this information, what will you do?
Honestly, if it weren't for the fact of Regis's final words, I probably would just left it alone. Regis said he last saw Bennett alive. In the fifth deep.
Seydlitz, you have to know. It was so long ago.
I know. The odds of him still being alive are slim to none. But honestly, that only drives my curiosity a bit too much. I want to know what became of him.
None of the organizations have ever made it to the 50. None of the guilds, none of the... No one knows a route that deep.
Someone might have found one. If Regis made it back, if he did go all the way down there, who's to say there isn't a route in the second deep that somehow shortcuts to the fifth? That's been undiscovered. Why such a finding would not be reported is beyond me. It would have made the man unnaturally wealthy.
I can only imagine that no one has found it since then. You would have heard about that.
Or it's being covered up.
Why?
Maybe there's something down there that someone doesn't want the rest of the world to know about.
All the more reason for you not to go. The place is
Maybe
here
you're
with
right.
your family.
Maybe you're right. But with this new power and divinity, my place has changed. I don't think I could stay here if I wanted to.
Your mother just looks across at your sister and is silent. Your sister Nemi looks to you, or your sister Selena looks to you. And her face is a mix of confusion and anger. She says, we have so much here. We have family. I have the kids, the store. And you're willing to risk your life for a curiosity? We've already lost one. That infernal death trap.
Sometimes the future shines brighter for those who delve in the world's darkest depths.
Fernand tips forward in his chair and just sort of nods at your sage wisdom. And your sister looks to you and says, that's bullshit, and you know it.
Maybe it is bullshit, but what else is there to it?
You want to go because you want to go. Don't try to paint this as some kind of, oh, I'm divinely drawn towards that place. No, you want to know what happened.
And so what if I do?
Then just say it. Don't try to cover it in candy and make it look pretty. This isn't a present. You want this because you want this. And if you die in that trap, it's your own damn fault. Don't put that on us as something you want to find out what happened to Dad for us. Don't put it as some sort of divining rod sending you there. Just say, I am willing to risk everything because I want to know.
Well, you just said it for me.
You know what? I'm done. And she like scooches her chair back and stands up very aggressively and begins to march upstairs. Fernand, ever the one for controversy, looks back and forth. Good night. And he stands and begins to follow her. Your mother looks after her and calls after her. Selena, no, please come join. Just sit. And she's gone up the stairs. Your mother still sits next to you and just slowly turns towards you. Seydlitz, my son. I understand. I understand. When your father didn't make it home, I would have given everything to know why, to know what had happened. He was a skilled tracker, a skilled fighter. There's a reason Whitecaps wanted him. There was a reason he went he thought with his presence, everyone would make it back. I've already buried someone I love. Or at least representation. You have my blessing. I need you to come back. If it looks too dangerous, if it looks like you can't find this hidden path, I need you to get back to them. That is more important. Finding out what happened or why it happened.
The world doesn't always work the way it is, but if I make that promise to you and I fail, it'd just be a burden on your heart. But I promise I will come back, even if the King of Nod himself is chomping at my heels.
She stands up at the table, looks down at you, says, I don't know what any of that means. And she leans down and gives you a motherly smooch on the forehead. She says, well, wish you the best of luck. You She starts to turn to walk upstairs.
Before you go, Mother, there's one thing I do want to tell you.
And on the staircase banister, she looks to you. Oh?
Take care of Selena and the kids, especially Amy.
Something
I am
wrong?
not the only divine one in this house.
Oh. Does Selena know?
I couldn't bring myself to tell her.
Well then, tell her when you return. She starts to climb the stairs. With your whole family in bed, Seydlitz, what do? You head out into the town, or do you turn in for the night?
Seydlitz is going to find Korax in his library.
Ooh, interesting turn of events. Okay, you set off towards the Royal Library. However, we have a corruption. And I wanted one more last episode. Didn't get. So now to torture.
They're going to rename the library to the Korax Library.
Yeah, it's the Koraxian. It's a Koraxian Royal Library. We cut again across town to the top of a building where we see Antares in her non-scary Terry's dress, looking out over the city. The parades have ended. The sun has dipped behind the horizon. It is nightfall. There are street lanterns lit around the city. You can see lights from houses. The castle though small it is lit up. And you stare out at the city, just sort of taking in how different it is from Corso. How you don't hear a scream cutting through the night, or the sounds of some sort of arcana happening here, or nearly as many raucous and possibly violent parties existing throughout the city. Instead, it is fairly quiet. There are the sounds of people occasionally talking and walking by. You may hear the sound of raucous laughter and music as a tavern door opens. And you see what people are left going about their business. And Terry's, what are you doing in this moment?
I think as the sun set, she's just been sitting on the edge of the building, just like arms on her knees, just looking up at the stars and like listening to just how silent the city is. Like you said, there's no screaming, there's no booted boot prints marching down the alleys and the streets and stuff like that. There's no reconciliators shouting warnings and stuff. So I think she's literally just sitting there and like just kind of like letting it like sink into her, just like this calmness and this stillness. And she like looks down and she's watching the people leave the tavern and like they're laughing and high-fiving if they do that. some more and high five.
Yeah. Special Samoan high five.
Yeah. And hugging and stuff like that. And that kind of stuff kind of makes her curious, I guess. And then yeah, I think she might eventually get up and then head back down.
Okay. You leave the top of this building. You head towards one of its corners where a stone staircase leads you down to the street level. And as you begin to head down to the street level, I will activate one of our corruption bars, since we now have two. You, from the top of the stairs, you see the outline of a figure. Shoulder blades, back of the head pressed against the wall at the bottom of the stairs, one foot cocked up, as they just sort of lean crossed-armed at the base of the stairs. Not blocking your way, but definitely in your way. They don't say anything. They just stand there.
Yeah, I think she slows down for like a microsecond, and then she keeps going, and everyone thinks it's a threatening look, but it's more like her hand is at rest on her hip, where her blade might be.
Yeah. Her non-threatening sword grasp.
Yeah, like she's not like, she doesn't walk around like that. It's just like her hand is resting on her hip and her hilt just happens to be right there. So
quick draw McGraw here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she slows down for like step, and then she'll continue down, and she's eyeing this person.
Their eyes cast forward, not turning to see you come down the stairs, not looking at anyone in the street. And as you approach towards the bottom of the stairs, do you walk past this person?
If I have to, yeah, I will.
Yeah, they're not like at the bottom of the stair. They're maybe a few feet in front of that, so you'd have to, like, if you're crossing the street, you can walk around them. Like, it's not like they're blocking your path, right?
She's definitely gonna give them a look.
Okay.
See if she recognizes this person.
Yeah, you step down the stairs and you head for the street, sort of eyeing this person as you begin to walk by. You recognize this man, which is not altogether strange, recognizing a person. However, you've never been here to Samora, so it's strange that you might recognize anybody, unless they're some sort of person from your past, person that lives in Corso, person you've had dealings with before, and most of those people don't make it out alive from those dealings.
Yeah.
But as you step past this person, your mind is immediately awash with memories. There is fire, blood, trauma, and the desire for death. However, unlike what your companions may think about the Antares of the past, the desire of death was not for anyone other than yourself. And as you look into this person's face, they have a slight smirk. And you just hear a rugged voice say, "What? Oh, hello." And you stare into the battle-worn, jerkin-wearing, cowled cape-having smirk of a man you only know as Orion. He drops his lifted boot onto the ground and
Okay.
straightens himself up, flaps his little side cape over his arm, says, "I didn't expect to see you here. I didn't expect to see you working for the Queen."
Yeah, when he speaks, she stops and stares at him like in shock. What are you doing here?
"Whatever I please. What are you doing?"
I'm doing what I set out to do. And she looks around to see if like anyone's like watching them or talking or like observing them or anything.
As far as you can tell, no one's around. I can see that.
How did you find me?
I have my ways.
I didn't think I would see you again.
I know. By design.
Okay. So what now? What do you want?
I didn't want anything. Just saw you standing there, and I figured a friendly face to say hello. Turn your evening. You looked pensive. What are you so shocked about? You think you're the only one that has secrets? Only one that moves in shadows?
Well, no. Like this is you just randomly show up here and it just happens to
Random
be
to you.
it just happens to be the second time I've ever met you and here you are.
Mysterious.
Okay.
It's not a chance meeting. I've been here. I come and go as I please. I saw you, and I thought it best if I wait until you come down, rather than be a frightening presence in the shadow behind you on the top of a roof.
And she kind of scrutinizes him and looks him up and down. It's oddly good to see you, Orion.
Well, that's nice to
Sorry, can you repeat that last one?
He said, "That's nice to hear."
Okay.
You are aware your siblings are coming to kill you.
They can try.
As long as you're aware of it, to make sure no surprises for you. I know you're in the middle of fighting a war.
Can you help
War or your siblings?
with the war? I can handle my siblings.
I am capable.
Well, as you can see, and she kind of makes a flourish with her outfit. I've come a long way
I
the
noticed.
last time you saw me.
I'm not sure if it's a disguise or you just that's your thing now, but it looks
Doesn't
different.
it look good? And she does like a spin.
There is a noise that you're not quite sure if it's a cough or a chortle. But as you turn back to him, he says, it definitely looks different. In a good way.
I think it looks good.
And that's all that matters.
It's a much more pleasing look than the last time you saw me. I would hope.
In your defense, the last time I saw you, you were not in the best of states.
No.
It's quite a bit of grime and soot, blood.
And you didn't give me what I asked for.
Aren't
look
you
better.
lucky?
She nods.
Look where you've come. You've turned your whole life around. You work for a new queen.
I don't work for her. I'm just trying to do what's right.
Wherever you want to frame it.
What I feel is right.
Good. Good. As I said, you've come so far. Now, that's all I had to say. And he nods towards you and starts to walk away.
Well, you're just leaving? Just like that?
Oh, yes. I simply came to say hello to an old friend.
Is that what we are?
Could be. As such, I have said hello, and I have imparted wisdom, and congratulations. Now, I have other things to do.
Like what? Do you need my help with anything? I do owe you.
You have your hands
Right?
quite full.
Well, I do owe you.
I'll keep that in mind. You'll see me again. For now, good luck.
And she just nods.
And he steps around the corner of the building and out of your sight. And as he kind of spins on the corner of the building, you hear sweet dreams and Deities. And he disappears around the corner.
I think she might go look around the corner.
He is not there.
Yeah.
You look around the corner and he is completely gone. There is nowhere that he could have disappeared into, and there is a stretch of street in front of you. He is just not there.
Yeah, I think she's gonna look around at the surroundings, maybe like a cat's like meow or something.
Yeah,
like that.
absolutely.
And then,
So a trash can gets knocked over.
yeah.
Where
and then
does
she go back? She's
Okay.
gonna go to a tavern.
Okay. Great, because irony and humor, you arrive in a tavern, and you see there is Mina and Wexy are sat at a table. There are 3 flagons of ale emptied around them, and a 4th is being drunk by Wexy in this moment. However, we're gonna cut somewhere else. Cut to the Royal Corexian Library. We cut to the Royal Library, where Seydlitz has ascended the stairs, passed by the guards. No one pays any mind, and you are shown where the library is. Seydlitz, you see a sight of disarray. There are books scattered about. However, they are haphazardly scattered. There are some that are like on their pages. Some of the pages are crinkled and bent. You see a tower of books has toppled over. It looks like a mess in here, and not an organized mess. Not something that you would assume would be Corax's intentional doing. And you see in the rough center of these books, Corax on the floor, sort of sprawled out, almost as if assailed, knocked unconscious, something like that. You see him like contorted in a non-intentional pose on the ground. He looks to be still breathing, but he is not moving. What do you do, Seydlitz?
I look around for a sec to identify or assess dangers to make sure like there's not actually someone actually here.
Yeah. You look around. You sort of hone in on the sounds. No sounds except for things coming from outside the castle. You can smell the sulfur, not sulfur, but the that waxy smell of like recently blown out candles, right? And you can see that there are several like sconces and candles that all have no flames in them. But it sounds like there's no one here in the in the library.
Our high and mighty god of knowledge, it seems, has forgotten to go to sleep at least some point and passed out. Corax, wake up already, as Seydlitz grabs down and starts shaking him.
Corax, you are violently shaken to consciousness. And the first thought that goes through your head is the agonizing pain in your head. You have a headache like someone just chopped it with an axe. And throbbing into existence is the new knowledge that there are 3 new gods. You are awoken to see the face of Seydlitz.
He looks up at Seydlitz, grabs his head. So you did it then? You managed it? You achieved it? Figured it out?
What are you talking about?
You became a god, right? Please tell me you became a god. Because that was not an enjoyable experience for me.
No. Not me.
The other 2, you seen them?
Nope, haven't seen either of them.
They better have done it. That hurts. There's 3 new gods in the world, and that knowledge hurts. I'm gonna have to go through it again when you figure it out.
And when everybody else does too.
Yeah, I don't think they pass out. And he looks around at all of his books scattered everywhere.
Hmm.
I don't think everyone else just passes out in the middle of their library. Yeah, he said his library. When new gods are formed. That was new knowledge that didn't exist before. So let's.
Well, I don't know how to tell you, but it wasn't me. I don't know about Antares, but I don't think it's her, and I don't know about Mina.
There's going to be a lot of death.
When is there not?
Well, there's going to be more. I don't know who those gods are. There is a book. I need to get it somehow. That'll tell me who they are. But until then, how long have I been out?
I don't know. I just got here.
As far as you can tell, it is still the same night. However, you have no... unless you tell me some otherwise, you have no way to tell how many hours it's been. The candles are no longer warm, but the smell is still in the air. So it's been enough time for it to cool down.
The candles aren't burnt to their ends, so
No.
it hasn't burned out.
Your best guess is that they snuffed when you fell. But you can still smell that like waxy residue, like that smoky residue, which means it's probably minutes, or that would have dissipated by now.
Well, hopefully, hopefully I haven't been out long. It doesn't smell like it. But
You would think if you passed out, the guards would have rushed in to figure out what the heck happened.
what, a bunch of useless people who stand around outside with spears. Yeah, very, very helpful. And he looks around at the disarray of this room. I got a lot of sorting to do.
Well, not to be a bit of a rain on your sorting parade there, but I did have a question. Oh, wise and mighty, and he says this super sarcastically, God of knowledge.
He bows.
Apparently knowledge doesn't extend to sarcasm.
Oh, I understand it's sarcasm, but it's just great that you acknowledge me.
Do you have a book in here about the 5 deeps?
Would there be a book, Mike? More that's going to be more than just there are 5 depths, and no one knows what's in them.
You know, he's fucking sasshole.
I can't imagine there's going to be much more than there's 5 depths.
No,
And no one knows what the hell's in there.
there are books. There are books. A lot of them are anecdotal recounts. There are some scholarly pursuits in them. What are you looking for?
That was a question I should have asked Seydlitz. Yeah, I suppose Korax would ask to Seydlitz, like, there's going to be stuff, but first depth,
I'm looking
second
for the
depth?
possibility of a route that connects the 2nd depth to the 5th.
What you mean, other than just walking through?
The way the depths work is you have to go on one at a time. Some entrances do allow you to skip some. But say there's a route that connects from the 2nd depth straight to the 5th. Ooh. Do you think that would be publicized? Because let's be honest, whoever discovered such a thing would make money out their arse for such knowledge. Or is it just theories?
That's a question for you then, Mike. Is there going to be anything within this library specifically that is going to talk about routes through the depths?
Roll me.
I mean, would this library even have anything about it? I'm assuming places like the Whitecaps is.
So here's the thing, right? So this is the queen of Samora is essentially like the queen of the runescape, in essence. The holdfasts, which are like the cities outside, the holdfasts themselves are mostly self-governed. There is some sort of political chicanery that happens between the queen and them. But if there is a source of knowledge, it would probably come back to the queen at some point, right? The majority of technological advances or historical discoveries happen in the deeps, right? There's only so much you can find on the surface. There's so much more you can find in this area, especially since this area is where Elanehtar crashed, plummeted from the sky. So there's plenty of salvage to be found there. So maybe you are also the god of knowledge, so we can see what you can access in the existing world of knowledge. So I can give you 2 things here. You can roll to see if you know of anything in the library, which would be a much lower DC, or you can roll to see if this knowledge exists in any formal way.
Let's go for the latter. Purely because I think, at least in my mind, that information that's Seydlitz is specifically asking for, I can't imagine it would be in here. Specific that shortcut.
Okay. In that case, I would like for you to roll me a intelligence-based knowledge relative skills, difficulty 7.
7.
Jeez.
And I have 0 intellect, which is great. Eager to learn. Is that going to assist here? You're trained in any task that involves learning something new when digging through old books to find. No, because I'm not looking for books.
Yep. I will. You know what? I'll allow that. I'll allow that skill to work here.
And it's not a godly thing, so that doesn't apply. So it was a 7. We're going to take that down to a 6.
Plus, you have some. It's knowledge based, so you could have some divine shifts. I think.
Yeah, so I'll put in my divine shifts, which is going to drop that down to a 3.
Okay.
Submit. And I can't use effort. Oh.
As far as you know,
Oh my gosh.
there is no path from the first or second to the 5th.
After sort of Korak sits there thinking for a while, almost sort of trance-like in front of Seydlitz, he looks up at him and says, there is nothing documented. There's definitely nothing in this library. I've tried to figure out if there's knowledge elsewhere that has been at least documented, but nothing from the first or second depth. It's not to say there isn't a path, but it's not written down.
So what you're telling me is if we could find that, if there is possible source of information, if we can find it, we could find out.
You would have to find the person that knows it.
The person that possibly knows it is no longer with us.
Then the knowledge is lost. Unless we find it ourselves.
Or it is hidden.
I would hope I could find it if it was written down, but like I say,
Maybe try again. Maybe it's that headache of yours is blocking your mind.
I wouldn't disagree.
You can try again at a later time. Maybe you should forget about the organizing and just get some rest.
Well, before we worry about rest, and I'll find someone. This organizing this will be fine. We need to see if the other two have figured their lives out, because you clearly haven't. Can only hope they have.
Well,
Mike, I'd
God
also
of
like to-
knowledge. Maybe you could use that knowledge of yours to tell you where they are.
Mike, is it possible to do a recovery roll? One action
Yes,
recovery.
yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is. I will say, 1, you can give me a recovery roll, and 2, you can give me a 10-minute recovery roll, because you know roughly the area in which the taverns are, where Mina might be like to go, which is usually where like the guard, the other soldiers are often seen, right? It's like that one cop bar down the street. It's like that. So you kind of know the watering hole, the military watering hole. So you'd have an idea of where to find Mina, and if that's where you're going, it'll take you about 10 minutes of resting to get there.
Yeah, Korax just looks to him and says, I got a rough idea. It's going to take us a little bit of a walk, but we do need to check with them, because if they haven't done it.
All right.
He looks back at all of his books on the floor, shakes his head, and as he walks outside, he finds the first guard he can and just says, can you get someone to go pick up all the books and just put them in a pile, don't damage them, just neatly, I'll sort it out. And he walks away from
He looks to you and he starts to say something and then realizes you just kept going. We cut to a tavern where Antares has opened the door and just sees Wexy and Mina deep in their cups. Antares, what are you doing?
She
There's no
just,
smooching happening in this moment.
God damn it.
Not yet.
Yeah. All right. So she pushes open the door and she looks around and does a double take when she sees them. And you said there was 3 mugs
Yes.
on the thing. And she's going to she's gonna head over and grab that 3rd one. And so she walks over, she's like, oh, thank God, I'm thirsty. And like, do you mind? And she takes it, that 3rd one, and starts drinking.
Wexy just looks up to you, immediately like pissed off, and then realizes it's you, and just sort of brushes off the behavior. And she looks to Mina and says, I think it would be best if I turn in for the night.
Thump, as she puts it down.
And Mina, who looks guilty for no reason whatsoever, kind of just nods. Yeah, we weren't doing anything anyway. We were just chatting. So good idea.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt any kind of conversation you mentor and mentee were having.
Oh no, we had just finished, and well,
But,
it was
yeah.
She cuts her
conversation for the ages.
Yeah, she cuts her eyes between the 2 of them.
And Mina stands up, being the gentleman that he is, for Wexy to get up and leave. Almost salutes, but realizes he's in the tavern and says, later, boss.
She takes a step forward towards you and like places a hand on your shoulder so that like her forearm is kind of like resting on your chest, and she says, another time we'll continue. And she kind of squeezes your shoulder and says, good evening, Antares.
She nods. Wexy, have a good night.
The rest of your night is good. Clearly also a smidge awkward right this second. And she heads towards the door, opens it, and there is Korax and Seydlitz, and she looks to you and says, everyone is here. Like it's a little aggressive towards Korax and Seydlitz. You have no idea why, what just happened. But she just like motions to the table and says, everyone's here. And then she opens the door and walks through, leaving it sort of swinging towards you, Korax and Seydlitz, as she not quite plows, but definitely walks through you guys towards wherever she's going. You see that Seydlitz and you see that Mina and Antares are sat at a bar together, or at a table together.
Yeah, she sits down and goes, okay, that was weird.
Did it just get hot in here? Feels like it just got hot in here. And Mina will take a drink.
Antares, you note that the hearth is bereft of any fire.
Okay, she seemed a little upset, Mina. What did you do?
We were just talking about Raya and my mum and the King of Nod.
Oh. One of
Those
those
conversations probably should be taken in private.
Uh,
Mina doesn't do private conversations.
Oh, we
It-
know.
it wasn't a planned conversation. It just kind of happened.
Hmm.
I mean, you guys just came up to the wall and said, hey, your sisters are favored. This is in league with that, I guess.
She turns to Sayla's, surprise. And then she turns back to Mina. It's a suspicion. We don't know for sure. I'm just going by what the queen told me.
Korax, do you want to tell them what you told me?
Borax is standing on the edge of the table, on the short edge, and he looks at the two of them. Did either of you manage to become gods, or are you
And
kind of useless like him as well?
she drinks and like,
That's rude.
what? What are you talking about?
No, Wexy and I weren't doing anything like that.
Korax stares at Mina for a second.
Yeah, she
Is
looks back.
Wexy divine as well?
No, but I don't know how you become a god. Maybe she knew how to do it. Like
Oh yeah.
we were discussing what's common knowledge and what's not common knowledge.
Well, this isn't common knowledge, but there's 3 new gods, and it's not you 3.
Maybe we should check on Beshaden for one of them.
Hopefully, it's him, because
Well, at
if
least
there's
one of
3 of them
hopefully.
coming here as part of this war, a lot of innocent people are probably going to die when they get you.
How do you know this?
I know many things, Antares. God
What?
of knowledge. It hurt like hell. And Seydlitz picked me up off the floor, and I have a lot of books that are messed up.
Oh. Do you
Yeah.
want a drink? And she holds up a pint to him.
No, I want you 3 to sort your shit out.
What?
You are. And he holds his head in his hands. You have the potential to become gods. And for some reason, the 3 of you are constantly fighting the fact. I don't get it. It's pretty great.
How did you become a god then? What do we need to do?
I read a
She-
lot of books, Mina.
She kicks a chair out, like kicks the chair leg out, and motions for him to sit down. Because yeah, he looks a little pale. Sit down.
He sits.
And then she will snap her fingers for the waitress.
So rude.
I know. I'm sorry.
Oh.
And
all
she's
of,
gonna-
all the
she's
wait
gonna-
staff in the community just looked at you.
I'm sorry. And she motions to that chowder stew that Seydlitz has, and she motions like 3 more. Because I don't think Korax has eaten anything.
Yes.
He
A few
hasn't.
minutes goes by and someone brings a tray with food and drinks over to the table.
He definitely eyes it suspiciously. He's used to palace food. I mean, come on.
Yes, the week or so you've been crashing in the palace library, you've gotten accustomed to palace food.
Hey,
How
Anything
dare
you-
you make the god of knowledge eat the food of the poor and the
Yeah.
peasantry?
hey, this is home cooked meal right here. I'm sure it's really good. Like
Yeah,
better.
several people live here. Definitely a
Mhm.
home cooked meal.
He definitely pokes it, but he does eat it. But he looks up at the others. I don't know how you become a god of whatever you're going to be a god of. I mean, knowledge makes sense to me. Learning things makes sense to me. How I became a god makes sense for me. What you have to do, it depends on probably you as a person. Whatever your divinity is going to lead you to. But ultimately, if the favored have become gods, at least 2 of us are dead. And he looks at Antares and Mina. 3, because they hate me too.
Don't take it personally.
Oh, I
With
don't
me,
hate them as well.
With me, it's all personal.
Korax, let's be honest here. We're probably all 4 dead because you'll be the last one to die.
Oh, I'll do my best to make sure of that.
Yeah, I've kind of noticed everyone seems to know who we are.
She nods.
As if we're gained celebrity status.
Or infamy.
I don't have a problem with that.
You wouldn't.
Of course, the god of knowledge wouldn't.
One of the perks of being a god. Everyone knows you.
So how do you suggest we become gods then?
Figure out your life.
About that. Does anyone else just happen to know how to travel to the land of Nod and back?
I don't know about that, but all I know is after this whole war thing, I'm going to the depths.
Good lord. By the dragon, she mutters.
What a
What
reveal!
And she looks at Mina. You're the only one of us who's been there.
Well,
Corax looks to Seydlitz and says, we'll come back to you. But do you mean other than the normal visiting of Nod when you sleep? Like the
Well,
normal one?
my mother taught me how to do it, and I thought she just learnt it being in the army. But Wexy thinks that's not something that the army teaches you.
I've never been in the army, but I've never been taught how to go visit the land of Nod for 3 days.
But
Like you
I
did in
guess
the radar.
lots of people in the army might have passed it on to other people. So I always thought it was just something people knew. I mean, and
Cool.
Terry's, you were kind of in an army. Did they teach you that?
No.
They taught her how to hunt people like me and you and Seydlitz.
Yeah, and she cuts her eyes at Corax, but doesn't say anything.
Well, my mum knew, and she knew how to get Raya back when Raya went to Nod, and then she knew how to get me back when I went to Nod. So I thought it was just something people knew.
Okay. And she kind of sits back a little bit. Is this the conversation you were just having with Wexy? Because I can see
Yeah.
why she was a little.
I thought it was
No.
just because you showed up.
She
I'm a
looked very
joy.
much like Antares with her grumpiness.
I'm a joy to be around. Now. She doesn't.
I hope Antares is saying that with her hand on a hilt.
Yeah. No. She's not. But
She didn't even see it with the blades on the table. It slipped out. I'm pleasant to be around.
Yeah. Hey, she had the sense to say now.
Oh,
Mina,
Yes.
that's not normal.
okay.
Why
might be
do you want to even go back there?
No, I don't. We were just trying to work out why Raya might be trying to kill me, other than being, peer pressured by, favored people. And we were just discussing that ever since Raya came back from Nod, she's been extra grumpy. And then soon after that, we were at Dawnfall, and then I might have dreamt that, or maybe it really happened, but we were fighting and there was lightning around.
The lightning spear.
No, I
Corax
think it was
look
just
at Antares.
regular lightning.
But the favored leaving Corso with a formidable warrior who wields a spear like lightning seems to ring a little
Spear
bit
like
more.
lightning. I thought you said it was an actual lightning spear.
No, I believe she said a spear like lightning. Yeah.
Here, I thought I was supposed to dodge thunderbolts.
And what's with everyone getting new clothes? Seydlitz has a new cloak, and Terry's has a new cloak. Corax was going to get a cloak.
Oh yeah, about that. I might need you to come with me to make sure the guys aren't ripping us off. But it's in 2 days' time, so we've got time.
Okay, I can do that. Or Seydlitz's family knows about that sort of stuff too.
I don't know them. And he looks at Seydlitz. What
Can
is in the
introduce
fifth
you.
depth that you are after?
And she sips her ale.
Well, on my expedition to look for and see where these formations of reconciliators are, let's be honest, we all know that was a lie.
I told him as such.
It's kind of obvious. I wasn't trying to hide it.
Well, the queen believed you, but I gave her some information that don't know if it's good news or bad news. I'm gonna go with bad news. But
An old, can't really say friend, lives up there, the Krakens, who is, well, dead now, of course.
And he's in the 5th depth. We're looking for him.
No. Supposedly, my father is in the 5th depth.
And how long has he been there?
Quite a many number of years. I'm assuming, let's assume that for all happenstance, he's not with us anymore either, but I'd rather not think about that.
And your goal is to get him out of the 5th depth.
My goal is to find out what happened.
so you're not going to rescue him.
If he's there and he's alive, I will bring him back.
Korax just sits there with his head in his hands, rubbing his temples. You know it gets worse the further down in the depths you go, right?
Yes, and that's why I asked the question of you earlier. Because when my father disappeared, their expedition was to the 2nd, not the 5th.
So you want to take a god of books to help you find a way into the 5th depth.
I never said you had to come with me.
No, but I can help you. I can try and help find you a way there.
She slides another thing of ale towards Korax. Knowledge, not books. Just think of all the knowledge you'll find down there. And she does a little flourish.
With his head still in his hands, he just cuts his eyes at her, looks back to Seydlitz. I didn't say I'm going to go with you because that just sounds like death.
And I never said you had to.
But I can try and find you information on it. It helps knowing why.
If after this whole war ends and I going there, regardless of what you all think, if we all have to part ways, then so be it.
Yeah, but as it stands, if these 3 new gods are coming and they want to kill people here, you might never get that opportunity.
That's why I said after.
If there's
I mean-
an after.
I mean, maybe the gods of useless things like knowledge. Maybe they won't be any coming to
Korax
trace it.
just looks at him.
I
hope
we're
they're the
gonna
gods of
assume
stones.
it's the 3 people we believe. They're not.
The most. I mean, for all we know, there could be of anything. I don't have. And he looks at Antares again. Mother's book on gods. So I don't know what they're gods of. All I know is that they exist.
You
She
should
wields
check
a
with
spear
the.
like lightning. Say she's a god. What are we do? We're doing easily the god of lightning. Then wouldn't be easy to surmise.
God of lightning can sure strike us all down.
Have you checked with the adherents? If anyone's got a book on gods, it would be them.
They might.
They may do. That's if there is more than one copy. It might be unlike the Book of Fate.
Can't you just
Where it
mess
is a
with the
single
Book of
entity.
Fate and fate in a new copy?
Can we somehow look at your
Yeah.
brain and work out the knowledge?
Look at my brain.
No.
How would you like to do
Like
that,
like
Nina?
like the needle thing that looked at our brains.
That looked at our memories.
I mean, not all of them. Like it didn't look at like the meeting I had with the King of Nod,
Yeah, because that's stuff that doesn't really exist, Mina.
but it did really happen.
Did it?
It felt real. Like
See,
when I was fighting all those nightmares, it felt very real.
Mina, do you live in a land of dreams where this is real and normal and happens to everyone?
Why is
Um,
it so hard to believe?
felt
Who are you
real?
asking this?
She's looking at Korax.
It's hard to believe that everyone does this in the military that just goes and fights
Well,
nightmares.
we know that's bullshit. And she gives Mina a look. Come on. Really?
I'm still unsure why my mum would lie to me about that.
Because mothers never lie about anything. She says probably a little too loudly.
Not mine never lied to me, except when she said Rhea would get over it.
Well, she might when you're dead.
What were we talking about again?
The
Seems like we got
needles?
off track. Yes. Because it didn't show my dreams, so maybe if anyone else has been in dreams, or there's ways to make it work out what your head shows when it gets God knowledge.
I think the best hope is the adherents having that book. But if they don't have a copy, we need to kill some reconciliators, and hopefully they've got some of those travel-y pendants.
Did everyone just lose their minds while I was away? And that she looks at a watch that doesn't exist at her wrist. In the past, 2 hours, you want to return to Nod, you want to go to the fifth depths, and you want to teleport into Nalumriel's chamber and steal her book?
I don't even have to write plot anymore.
Yes, I want that book.
And I just
Honestly,
want
it's not a bad
I just
idea.
want more stew, please. And she holds up her empty bowl.
Licks her fingers
Honestly,
again.
if it's not a
Thumbs
bad
over.
idea, if we're gonna die anyway, might as well go for the Hail Mary.
I don't plan on dying.
But
Also,
question is, if that pendant teleports you into her chamber, can't we use another one to get back out?
It doesn't teleport him, it teleports me because I've been there.
See, I'm not the one in danger.
I'm not going back there.
Well,
And you just want to go casually kill a couple reconciliators to get some of these pendants?
less of them in
Again,
the city, the better.
I don't think he's talking about him killing them. I think he's talking about us killing them.
See, Mina's clearly the smart one out of you.
Or me. That's what I'm good at, apparently. And she cuts her eyes back at Korax.
You've killed a lot more people than I have.
She nods. Actually, sorry, she doesn't nod. She just gives him a really sharp look.
As she's looking at him, he picks up his drink and slowly sips and stops and goes, I think you've killed more people since I've known you than I've ever killed.
Probably. How many have you killed?
None.
None. Yeah, okay. So it's not exactly a high bar.
It's not normal for people just to go around killing other people.
It is when you're from the Nightlands.
Well, so is apparently when you work in the guards and you go visit the King of Nod every week.
Okay, so maybe there is some grain of truth to this. Oh God.
Did you all come here for a reason?
No, I just followed him.
I came to
Korax.
see.
I
I-
came for a drink and then ran into you two. Or she motions to Mina.
I came to
Yep.
see if you three had managed to sort yourselves out, but I'm more worried about when everyone gets here for a war than I was before.
She kind of lowers her voice and she looks at Korax. So what do you think I'm gonna be the god of?
Killing people.
And do you think that's good? And yeah, and she drops her gaze. And do you think that's going to be good for you? And for this here, this whole thing we're trying to do here?
It depends who you're killing. If it's the people that have set out their lives, well, depends really. Before I knew you, no. Yeah, it wouldn't have
If
been good
she-
for many good people, but
If she
since-
was the god of killing people, wouldn't she have become a god when she was killing people?
maybe there's a better path for her. But if you're killing bad people, that's a good thing, I guess.
Well, it does make sense that she hasn't become a god yet. Maybe there's another god she's a god of.
And she glances at Mina.
He sits back in his chair and just stares at Antares. Killing people's probably wrong.
I mean, she's
Agreed.
good at it. Doesn't make her the god of it. It's like I'm a good tailor. It's doesn't mean I'm going to be the god of tailoring.
Oh, geez, if you're going to be the god of tailoring, you're going to be less useful than me in this war.
How useful are you going to be?
Me, not very. I'm just telling people what to do. I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah.
Well, if you work out what we need to do, let us know. I think I've got some sleep to catch up on.
That was far too pointed, Norm, and I love it. Like you even made a face of like, I'm gonna take it. I'm taking a nap. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I love that. Definitely not something I can spend a corruption bar on. So Mina, you excuse yourself from the table. Does anyone say anything as he starts to depart?
Borax eats his stew, drinks his drink, and just keeps staring at Antares to try and figure out what she can be a god of.
Yeah, she's gonna look after Mina. Don't do anything stupid. We can't travel to the Nightlands if you get stuck. So just
I know how to get back now. That's a good thing. Whereas before I didn't until my mum showed up and told me how to get back. That's why I was gone so long, all those weeks.
that was before my time.
Early, but yeah. Mina, where are you? You're staying in Wexy's lodge,
Room.
still, right?
Yep.
Okay.
In the barracks.
Yeah. That's the word I was looking for. So you head out of the tavern and back that way. The camera lingers in the tavern for a minute as the three of you sit slurping soup on edge. What are the three of you doing? Or do you depart?
I've killed a lot of divine people, Korax. You know that?
From what you told me, that's what you were trained to do.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know what you think I'm going to be the god of. So I really hope it's not that.
Mina's right. I think you would have become a god of killing people before. And he tilts his head the opposite way. He says, you do seem very different to the scary Antares that we first met. And he motions to her clothes. You've even changed your appearance.
Well, you pulled me out of a slave caravan. So again, the bar was really low.
There was a really good picture of you in Sia's Tavern. That was a scarier version of Antares than I met in a slave caravan. Or I've seen chopping off the head of a reconciliator in a church. I'm glad I didn't meet her. And you seem to be doing a lot more good. You're on the right side of a war.
Well, I have to do what I feel is right. So, how else am I gonna help fix this shitty ass world?
It would depend on your reasoning.
I helped make it a shitty place.
Trying to undo the wrongs of the past.
You were always about the return of the gods. I may have been one of the reasons why it's taken so long.
I don't deny it. Anyone who had a potential to become a god, you were sent after believing that what you were doing was right.
She looks down.
I say that you're on the right side of this war, but
If you two would excuse me, I'm gonna head home while you have this conversation.
he looks to Seydlitz. We'll talk about your debts.
She nods.
If your
Of
father is
course I
alive,
will.
I will help you in any way I can. There will be information somewhere I can get for you.
Don't take this the wrong way. I don't really care about your father, but I can tell that it means a lot to you.
Thanks, you two. Eddie walks out the door.
Correct.
Corax looks back to Antares. Where you stand when it comes to a war will depend on what your view on the world is. If you believe that Samora is an evil place that needs to be cleansed, as far as you're aware, that's right. And you need to go and cleanse that city. But in that, a lot of innocent people die. And if you're sitting on the opposite side and thinking saving those innocent people was right,
I don't
then,
think this city needs to be cleansed.
well, would hope not. The innocent people have done nothing.
She nods. I've killed a lot of innocent people. People who didn't know what they were. And it wasn't just divine people I killed. Anyone who really got in my way. So whether or not that's the type of person you want to become a god or not, no matter how much they've changed.
The thing is, you now recognize that those people were innocent. That's good.
Yeah.
Change is good if it's positive. Embrace it. It's probably what's been holding you back from godhood for a long time. I have no doubt that Nalumriel knew what you are.
She nods. And for what it's worth, I don't think my siblings are the ones who you sensed. Rhea, I have no idea. But Eltanen and Rastaban, I don't think it was them.
Well, if it's not them, it could be 3 people from Chrysaorich that are coming here as well. We have 2 wars on our hands. If you said that they are coming here as well, gods on either side that are against us is not good. I don't know what's holding Mina back from him achieving his godhood, or I couldn't even guess what Seydlitz's deal is. He just doesn't believe in gods or something. But
Well, Seydlitz might be a tougher nut to crack, but Mina is pretty obvious.
the god of weird dreams.
No, what's holding him back? The kid needs to get a confidence boost or something. He needs to get I'm sorry, I don't want to say it. Oh.
Well, maybe this war will be the thing that he needs. It would be nice if he figured it out before then. But for you, I think Mina's right. You need to embrace the new you, the change. Accepting that what you did was wrong, moving forward, and not letting that past hold you back. Run with it. Whatever it is could be holding you back. And I would rather have someone that's skilled at killing people on my side.
She nods. Do you believe in fate, Corax?
He smiles. I have a whole book on it,
All right.
written by the former goddess of fate.
And does that book say anything about what just happened?
He hasn't read it in a while. I haven't checked. The ascension of the gods, you mean?
Yeah.
I've passed out on the floor. Seydlitz shook me awake, and we came here.
Mm. And she nudges the bowl of stew. Well, I kind of had a reminder tonight about the path that I'm on. I don't necessarily know at the time. I didn't know where I was meant to go or do. And there was a time when I didn't want to. I thought I didn't deserve to keep going. But I wasn't granted that wish, I guess. And then I fell in with you lot, the Redeemers of the Afterworld.
Fell in, or brought to us by fate. A redeemer yourself.
She nods very, like, purposely.
On the note of fate, camera cuts across the starlit sky, or at least half of the starlit sky. We see Mina walking across town towards the guard barracks belonging to one. Mina, it is quiet. There There are a few lit lamps on the streets lighting the way. Most of the noise has died down, and you hear muffled grunts coming from down the street, down like a little alleyway. Doesn't sound like anything aggressive is happening. It sounds like somebody is more frustrated than anything. You hear, oh, just, please, just if it could just this one time, for the sake of the god, this is ridiculous. And as you make your way down the street, perhaps you cast a glance down the alleyway these noises are emanating from, and you see a cart, a wagon. There is a like a pothole essentially, right? There's a rut in the ground, and the wagon is stuck in this rut. You see, there's a couple of like tears in the canopy, and you see an old man attempting to free his wagon from this rut, struggling, cursing the wagon, cursing the wheel, cursing the mud and the hole in which the wheel finds itself. He doesn't approach you or say anything to you. Do you continue walking?
No, Mina will immediately turn down the alleyway and kind of say, can I give you some help?
Oh, yes, that would be great. Please, I seem to have, I was pulling my wagon and I seem to have gotten it stuck in this hole here. If you don't mind, if you could lift a young strong man like yourself, if you could lift this, I could free it. I could pull it free. If you don't mind.
Yeah, Mina will shove his spear into the pothole under the wheel and lever it up.
Yeah, you pop this thing up, and he kind of quickly moves around towards the front of this wagon, and you see him like grabbing the front of this thing and wrenching his back as he pulls this wagon forward and out of this hole, kind of like thunk with like a squelch and a thunk as it pops out of this little mud sinkhole, and kind of almost rolls him over, but he continues this thing and applies some pressure to his heels, digs in, and the wagon stops. So, thank you. I was trying to head to the marketplace so I could get an early jump on things for tomorrow morning, and found myself stuck here in
Oh, I can give you a hand. I'm not doing anything right now. Let me take that for you, and Mina will get to the front and
wouldn't want to put you out of anything.
No.
All right, well, I won't turn it down. By all means, please. And he takes the opposite side of the like the handle and begins pushing with you. This is a fine young man such as yourself doing, just wandering the streets of Samora.
I'd just been having some drinks with some friends, and I was just heading back home to go to sleep.
Well, it seems as though you've had an eventful night. Drinks with friends or family is always the best way to have them, I say.
It was an eventful night. I will give it that.
Well, I'm glad things seem to be working out for you. And I appreciate your timely assistance here. It's very, very fortunate for me. Thank you very much. And he continues pushing this thing. I think this is a good spot. I believe this is not quite in the marketplace, but it's a little bit offset. I think. And he like stomps on like the paved, like the stone street. I think this is a good enough spot for this to be. I think this would be a very.
I think they clear the marketplace for the parade, so you probably don't want to be in the marketplace.
Right. Of course not. I forget about that. I think this is a good space. I think we'll have a lot of foot traffic here in the morning, and I appreciate your help. Thank you. Yeah. I too will be headed off to sleep. But I'm not one to take assistance without adequate compensation. And, I won't take no for an answer. 1 second, please. And he like throws back a flap of this little wagon, and you see him squirrel his way into there. And you can hear like glass shifting around, metal, large thuds, heavy crates being moved. And he pops back out, just like his torso out of the curtain. And he holds a glass tube. This is for you. One of my trinkets, and for your assistance in helping me on my journey, I will help you with this. Thank you so much.
Oh,
I appreciate your assistance.
you really didn't need to, but
That's okay.
thank you anyway.
Have a great night.
Yes, maybe I'll see you later.
Well, you'll know where to find me, young man.
Yes, thank you very much. Oh, by the way, my name's Mina.
Have a good night. Perhaps I'll see
Good-
you in the morning.
And yep, Mina will turn on his heel and head off.
Minutes go by. A conversation is had in a tavern, and Seydlitz begins to walk down the main road, Avi's road, of Samora towards the residential district. Seydlitz, you are deep in thought about the fifth depth, the thoughts of ascension to godhood, what that could mean, if your father could be alive, how did he get there, how to find information. And you hear someone seemingly calling. At first, it doesn't really register as it's nighttime and it could be anybody. But the closer you get, the more obvious it becomes as you hear, "Excuse me, my good sir. Hello, sir. Excuse me. You seem to be quite lost in thought. Hello.
Yes.
Oh,
Sorry. It's been a
hello.
long day.
Oh, completely understandable, and I am a complete stranger accosting you in the night. Would you mind? And he motions this elderly man, short, pointed beard, robe, motions towards a uncovered wagon, which is slanted like a bookshelf. Would you mind giving me a hand here, please? I have a lever here, and it locks into place, and I just need to. If I pull on this, do you mind lifting just this end here, please? I'm trying to get a head start on setting up my mercantile cart for the morning. You seem like a strong gentleman.
She's a bit early to get such a head start.
That's why they call it a head start.
I don't mind. I got just kind of a casual stroll anyway.
Oh, great. If you could just lift two hands with your legs, lift here, and I will pull this bar here into place.
Seydlitz helps out and does what he has just to help him out.
You see him reach under the cart and grab this bar and sort of like click it into place, and there's like a groove, and then he like lifts it out and clicks it again and clicks it again and clicks it again, and the cart on one side sort of raises up to be like almost like a display case of sorts. And he scurries out from underneath and he says, Good man, thank you so much. I appreciate this. And you see him like hit the side of the cart, and a section underneath the part that is now elevated drops down. And you can see like a little like door that is open, leading to like a sleeping bag kind of thing, like a little compartment there. He says, "Thank you, my good man. I appreciate this. I will be."
Quite the fancy setup you got here.
Thank you. I am a traveling salesman, and it is very helpful to have a place where you can sleep inside your wares. I appreciate your help, my good friend here. You know what? For your troubles, I don't like to accept help without due compensation. This, I believe, this is fair compensation, my good man. Please take this with you on your way, and hopefully it is as useful to you as it might have been to me. And Seydlitz, as he hands you this like worn leather-bound book, you can see there's like lots of like marks that this book has been opened and closed many times, lots of like hand oils on this. In the center of this, there is a like a medallion almost. And you recognize this medallion immediately. This is a circle with a series of mountains inside of them. All of the metal is black, except for the tops of the medals, which is white, and it is the symbol of the Salvager Guild, the Whitecaps.
Whitecaps Journal. Were you a member?
Oh, no, I was not. I am a collector of strange antiquities. Sometimes I sell things for moons and stars, and sometimes I sell things for things. This is one of the things I sold it for.
Well, I thank you.
You have a good night. And
Do you mind
Yes.
if I catch your name, good sir?
ooh, me,
Mhm.
my name is Telbin. These are Telbin's fine exotic wares.
Nice to meet you. I'm Seydlitz. Have a good night.
You as well, my friend. Perhaps I'll see you on the morrow.
And as Seydlitz walks around the corner away out of your shot. Ah, crap. I gotta find Korax.
And that is where we end this episode of The Rise. Bum, bum, bum.
GG's.
Yeah, that was our last corruption bar. Bringing old Telbin back. Or Telbin for the first time, I guess. We've only heard about him in passing. Cool. Good shit. Let's go around, do some outros, and get the hell out of here so we can do an after show. I have regained some sense of awakeness, so we're doing an after show so we can talk about this crazy bullshit that happened today. Lots of information in this episode. Lots of shit, lots of role play. Like, I was quiet most of the time. You guys killed it. Yeah, let's go around. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for those corruption bars. They were well used today. We had two blasts from the past NPCs join us today. If you guys like what we do here and you want to support the channel, like these fine folks here, Patreon, link down below. That's the best way to do it. While you're down there, click on that Discord link. Join us in the Discord. Be a part of the community. Be a part of the conversation. But for now, outros, so we can do our after show, which you guys can get over on our Patreon. We will start. We'll start with G. G, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? And what are you up to?
Hello, I am G, your friendly neighborhood lightning invoker. You find me in the Discord for this modding for the streams during the week, for the Patreon, other Patreon one-shots, which are next Saturday. Mark your calendars. And you can find me on Twitter at lightningspaz09.
D, what are you? What are you? Who are you? What are you doing? And where
What
can we
am
find
I?
you on the
I'm-
internet?
Hopefully I'm a person.
Yeah,
I am a meat popsicle.
right?
I am a filthy meat sack.
That's true. It's true. Aren't we all?
I'm Matt or D. You'll find me on Mike's Discord, here in the Patreon campaign, and in the one-shots.
Oh, yeah. Norm.
And,
Oh, good.
and casually driving all over the United States.
Also true. Norm, what are you? Who can we find you? And where are you?
I am Snow or Norm. You can find me here for the Patreon games and in the Discord.
Hell yeah. And last but not least, Chris, who are you? Where can we find you? And what are you up to?
I'm Chris. You can only find me in the Discord. I don't do the rest of the internet because it's scary.
That's true. That being said, we're out of here, friends. Thank you so much for being here. So from all of us to you, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.